Okay, a couple lessons already learned. This is a test stream, and I'm trying to figure this out. Last Friday, I tried to do a test or a live stream, and it went all wonky on me and kept disconnecting and reconnecting, and the bit rates were all out of weird and wacky. So I stopped that stream midstream and deleted that sucker. Besides which, the topic I wanted to talk about last week was the Ancient Aliens episode, and that's on Friday night. And it was billed as a new episode, and it was actually a rebroadcast that they relabeled new. I seen it before, so it wasn't, it wasn't new. So I figured, that trash live stream anyhow, I need to learn this. So now I went and updated OBS. Didn't know that there was an update. And here I am right now trying to stream. So I scheduled a stream on YouTube Studio, right? Then I go into OBS to set the stream. There's 2 YouTube selections now for streaming. I know this is kind of esoteric and probably not interested, but I'm learning. And I picked last week was a YouTube gaming, and I noticed that the settings on it for the real-time media stream server legacy version. And then there's YouTube, and when you select that one, you can connect it to your YouTube account, but you can also have an advanced option. I should have chosen advanced because when I went into YouTube Studio on the website, I created an event, set it all up, went to OBS, and instead of selecting advanced and putting in the stream key for that event, I said, I'll connect. It didn't say anything else. It just said, connect your YouTube account. I said, connect to YouTube. So I connected to my YouTube account through OBS, which is kind of cool in a way, but it creates its own event. And then, so I have now I have a scheduled event that's now passed. I should probably go back and delete it. And this event, which was scheduled by me while I was going through there and trying to figure this out. On top of that, there's a local outdoor music venue that's playing really loud music, and they're coming. I've got my headphones on, because if I don't have my headphones on, I hear their music, and it's, the drummer's like really good, but he's pounding and coming through the wall. I don't know if you can hear him through my microphone, but it's really annoying, so hence the headphones. But what I wanted to do today in the test stream, I guess, is I guess to talk about Oiltober and what that means. 31 days of Oiltober. It's not October, it's Oiltober. And what that really means as an artist and my creative endeavor. And I know that I have to get better at this live event stuff, because I won't be able to do what I want to do. I'm going to talk about that.
When I grabbed a bus to anywhere, just to be elsewhere, I long to belong. Pissed right into the sunset, felt like Juliet, on my way to meet my lover, a dream
Yeah, so Oiltober. So a couple of weeks ago, I got up here in my studio and I was painting. And I was painting. I bought some lavender spike oil. A lavender spike oil, well, it's very pungent. It's very strong. All right, lack of a better word. But I thought I'd be okay because we have lavender downy, lavender candles, lavender lavender hand soap. My wife uses lavender Epsom salt in her, when she takes baths and stuff. I mean, everything's lavender, lavender potpourri. We're going to be planting some lavender plants outside. So I thought, lavender, that's, my wife's go-to scent. It would be okay if I have lavender spike oil and I paint. And it didn't take maybe less than 5 minutes, and I got a comment from my wife about the smell. I had my window open. I had a fan blowing out the window. I had an overhead fan on, and I had my door closed, and she still smelled it. It was so strong that within 12 hours, it caused her various things. Set my wife's system. She's a cancer survivor, and she suffers from severe intestinal damage from her radiation treatment. And it takes, you never know what's going to cause her system to go bunkers. Within 12 hours, we were in the ER. And I hate to say that because I think that it wasn't anything she ate. It was me trying to be creative here in my office and thinking I was doing a good thing with lavender spike oil. So word to the wise, don't use lavender spike oil because it is very strong and very pungent. And I mean, like I said, I had windows open, fans blowing, door closed, and it is strong. Works really well, don't get me wrong, but very strong. So back to Gamsol for oil paints. Or what I did, I have water mixable oils. So rather than using solvent, I mean, yeah, I could use walnut oil with maybe some alkaloid or however you say that, it speeds up oil drying. But these basically oil painting, there's this Winsor & Newton and a Duo Aqua Oil. They're both water mixable oil paints. And all that really means, I mean, some people say it's an emulsifier oil. Yeah. Well, the oil is processed. Basically, all they do really is take one molecule out of the oil, and that molecule stays open so that water is a solvent. Water can attach to that oil molecule. So water and oil mix. Who knew, right? But that's the science behind it. And water acts like a solvent. And just like acrylic, you add too much water and your paint will suffer the pigments. I mean, there is oil binder. Everything else, you can use these just like traditional oil paints. You can use linseed oil, you can use Gamsol, you can use walnut oil and alkaloid. And the drying time is very, I'm told from, my test, is very long. So the reason why I like oils is because of that. Meaning the blendability, the extra flexibility that oil paints give you when you're painting. I like acrylics. I have acrylic paints too, and I have slow dry. I have some golden acrylics and some Liquitex acrylics and Liquitex acrylics. Liquitex is made in France, and golden, I believe, is made on the East Coast. I want to say New York, or golden is New York, I believe. I think that's where it's manufactured. Gamblin oil paints are made in Portland, Oregon. And then we have Geneva Paints, which are made here locally in Austin by Mark Carter. I've not tried. He has a limited palette oils, meaning he has a channel, Draw Mix Paint, and his whole shtick is mixing on your palette to the desired hue using the primary colors, and I think it's only like, what is it, 5 or 7 colors, I think, total, and you get all the everything from the color wheel. Everything on your color wheel can be mixed, and he has some really good techniques about how to mix paints and how to draw and how to shade. But what I'm going to be doing, I guess, over the next month here in October, I'm hoping that this stream actually, we don't cut out. And so far it's been pretty good. It's been stable. But what I'd like to do is to get small canvas boards, and I'd like to allot myself 2 hours a day and paint every day and practice. Now, the problem is I need to pick a time where I can be consistent and where I know that I'm not going to be involved in something else. Like I know tomorrow, wife and I we're going into somewhere to eat dinner, right? And and I don't know what time I'll be home, so I don't know when I'll be able to do what I want to do, which is I want to paint every day, a small painting for 2 hours and complete the painting. And, I'm not looking to paint a masterpiece. None of my paintings, I'm not a professional artist. I don't do, not yet at least, I don't do commission work, right? I paint because it helps in many ways your mental health. And if you haven't figured that out yet, it is a way of being creative. Whether you're painting, whether you're on a keyboard or a guitar making music, whether you're writing, all of these things, exercising your imagination and using your mental acuity to think about good things, good thoughts. The power of positive thinking. Somebody says, I think in a previous video, and I still believe this, thinking about positive things will not cause those things to magically appear in reality. It still requires you. I mean, it's a combination of what's up here, what's in here, and what's here, your hands. What are you doing? If you align all of those, if you align your mind with positive thoughts, your heart is in the right place. You heard that phrase before. Is your heart in the right place? And what are your hands doing? Are your hands being constructive, creative? Are they, and there's another old saying, if the human mind can imagine it, the human hand can build it, right? That is the power of positive thinking. You're not going to catch a grouper sitting on your butt on the beach looking at the sea and thinking, gee, I'm hungry. I wish I had grouper. I'm hungry. No, it's going to take you getting a fishing pole, going out on a pier out to the end, maybe on the reef, and sinking that thing, because groupers like to be on the bottom or near the bottom on a reef, and that's where they feed, and you'll catch a grouper. And I grew up in Florida, spent my formative years in Florida, I should say, mostly Texas, but Florida, on the edge of the Everglades. And me and my best friend Dan, we were either in the canals or playing with alligators. Sorry, we did gar, a fish, a really mean fish. We'd catch all bass, turtles, mud puppies. There were some wild monkeys in an abandoned orange grove not far from us. We played with them. They throw oranges at us and we'd throw them back, and we had wars with the monkeys. They got to expect it from us, and it was sort of I think that they were having fun, and we weren't trying to hurt them. We were just playing. But grouper's one of those things. If you want to realize a meal of a grouper, you're not going to get it by dreaming about it. Only dreaming about it. What you ask yourself is, how can I catch a grouper? How can I realize a grouper? Then you come up with a hook and you come up with bait. What bait would a grouper? You imagine, what does a grouper eat on the bottom? Where are they? I just alluded to the fact I know that grouper are at the bottom on the reef out where they eat. And they're probably underneath the shelf, meaning you have to go out to the reef and then back under where the water has dug out like caves. That's where the grouper is. There's also some other things down there besides grouper, maybe sharks. But that's where the groupers are, and that's where you'll find them. And they're big fish. They're very good. They're tasty. Sorry, I like fish. I'm a carnivore. My wife accuses me of having an iron gut. But, I like grouper. And that's the power of positive thinking. And when I try to explain that, and the same thing with painting, right? You cannot create a painting by just looking and staring at a canvas. It will never happen. You cannot become a better piano player by imagining playing the piano. Although there are savants, there are some people who have extraordinarily, they access we call it the collective unconsciousness, the collective consciousness, because we're all energy. So if some people have that ability to where they just play. I have a brother-in-law who's never taken a piano lesson in his life. He hears a song and then he can play the song. I used to be able to do that with, I played various musical instruments, and I used to be able to do that when I played. I practiced 3-4 hours a day, became a state first chair in my instrument that I played in band, tuba and baritone and trumpet. The tuba is where I became first chair. All I'm trying to say is it takes more than just positive thinking. It takes heart and it takes hands. So your mind, your body, and your soul. And I think the hands are part of that process of exercising your imagination. And my phone just went off because there's an earthquake in Mojave, California, 3.7. I have an earthquake thing on my, hey, it's one of those things. Everybody has hobbies. Painting, Oiltober. So that's my plan. I am going to paint every day. I'm going to try. Tomorrow I can't. I already know that. So I'm going to say my next painting day will be Sunday. And this is a test of the live stream because I am going to hope to do this. And I have various things. Here's my paints. I have an overhead. And also have, let's see, forget the one. That one? No, not that one. That one. No, not that one. Yeah, so when I'm painting here, my hands here, I'll be facing and I'll have my microphone so I can talk that way. So I've got it all figured out up here in my mind about how I want to do this. The technical stuff is stuff I'm trying to figure out right now. Painting a small canvas board, which is stiff. I don't want to use a large practice canvas, and that's just something small, something that I can put on my table, maybe paint flat, or maybe I'll use my easel. We'll see. But anyhow, that's my plan of attack on how I want to do this. And I've been thinking, what do I want to talk about when I paint? Is it, there are people who do this and do it in a time-lapse format where they will paint and they will record themselves painting, and then they will speed it up. And I'd like to talk while I paint and maybe present this as a podcast. I've been meaning to try to do a podcast, and maybe this is the impetus, the push to make me do this. And the question that I have asked myself is, what would I talk about? I don't want to talk, even though my degree, I have an undergraduate degree in government, went to political philosophy in graduate school, and I went to the University of Texas School of Law. I am not a practicing attorney. I will not provide any legal counsel or legal advice. Although I did score, I was in the mid 90 percentile on my law school admissions test. I was admitted to every law school that I applied to. I was given more than a couple full scholarships, tuition and books and fees. And I chose to go to the University of Texas in Austin, here in Austin, because frankly, I had been away from my family for a long time, and I figured, you know what? I could go to school in Austin and I could be with my family, with my mom and dad, and have dinner with them more than, once every 6 months. And I thought that was a good thing, and that's why I did it. And I still, I had an endowed scholarship, an endowed presidential scholarship when I went to law school. Unfortunately for me, late in my second year, I went to MD Anderson Cancer Center, and that was that. And I intended to go back, and I didn't. And then met my wife, met her, and we got married, and I didn't, because I took on the responsibility of, you have to provide for family. And I do what you do what you think is the right thing to do, even when the right thing is hard. And cancer taught me that. Cancer is here I am talking about cancer. It's one of those things that happen in life that you cannot walk away from it. I mean, I still remember being naked in my hospital gown, had on a front hospital gown and a back hospital gown, meaning 2 hospital gowns covering myself. But I was butt naked underneath, as were the other 5 people in the hallway. We were all at MD Anderson Cancer Center, and we were waiting to get a CAT scan. And we were making jokes because somebody farted. You can't walk away from life, no matter how hard it gets. And, we can talk about, I don't even want to talk about the situation with COVID, because it's not important in life. It's not. What's important in life is your family, the memories that you make, the times that you share. Having a spouse who needs you when you go to the hospital and she's in pain and she's relying on you. You have a choice to make, and those are the important things in life. And because you make those choices, You have to live with those choices, and you have to own up to them, and you have to accept them. That is the responsibility that you bear as a person, is to do the right thing, to do it for the right reasons, but to do the right thing even when the right thing is hard to do. You will get through it. You will get through it. And there is value in that. Knowing yourself, that is the person who you are. So whether you're painting or whether you're being a creative person, painting or making music or writing or whatever creative endeavor that you are in, I have a friend who was a sculptor. He made sculptures, and he had a master's in art, and he talked about the value of art in shared, meaning art like a garden, a sculpture garden, and what that can bring to a community, and the shared experience, that the impact, you may not know what impact your art may have on somebody else. And that's why I think that, Oiltober, 31 days of Oiltober is important, because it is a creative endeavor. And I want to share this with you for that reason, because I don't know what impact this will have. It's just me, and I want to paint. I'm not going to try to, this is not Skillshare. I am not a professional artist. I've already said that. My art has gotten better. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes I look at it and, I just want to rip it up and throw it away. And sometimes I look at it and go, that's interesting. I produced that. Art will have that effect on you. And, like I said, it's not going to hang in the Louvre, whatever I create here. And this is more or less a test stream. The first, and I'm just talking off, should I have the capability. I have the capability to talk to other people while I do this. So, if you want to have a conversation, maybe I should just open it up and say, hey, send me a note and let me call you, and I'll talk to you while I paint, and we can talk to each other and do it live. I don't know if I want to do that or not. That's kind of risky, isn't it? Art Bell did it. You ever listen to Art Bell? All right, I'm old school. All right, I'm going to talk about something else. It's a test live stream. Art Bell, the thing that I loved about Art Bell, okay, in the Marine Corps, I was a Marine before I went to college. In the Marine Corps, I worked 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night until 7, 8 in the morning. So long overnight hours. And I worked alone. I was in a compartmentalized, secured, I worked in avionics, and the equipment that I worked on was limited access, meaning I had a security clearance. You had to have a security clearance to get into the place where I worked. But I could listen to the radio at night, and I listened to Dr. Demento, one of my favorite, shows on the late night radio station. It was broadcast from California, I think. I was in Japan at the time. And then Art Bell. And Art Bell, the thing I loved about Art Bell is that he did not have a call screener. He had a number for east of the Rockies and west of the Rockies, and he had a wild card, international line. So he had like 4 different 800 numbers, and then he would just answer the phone, and he was gifted enough. He had a 7-second delay that if somebody used some curse words because of, FCC regulations, you couldn't broadcast that stuff. He'd mute them and disconnect them and go on to the next person. But he had the knack and ability to talk to anybody. And that's what I loved about him. He would talk. I mean, because he was talking about esoteric topics, about aliens, about cattle mutilations. He interviewed Lyndon Moulton Howe. You may recognize that name. He talked to Whitley Strieber a couple times, and he talked to various people who talked about esoteric topics. He lived near Area 51. His show was Dreamland, the Kingdom of Nye, Me, I just live by an enchanted rock. I'll tell you about that too. But Art Bell talked to anybody, even crazy people. He did. He just had a knack for talking, and he would just discuss. And that kind of ebb and flow was a creative outlet, I think, for him. He was a shortwave radio operator and out in the middle of the desert, and he had all of his radio equipment, and he was just a gifted broadcaster. Why not have a podcast that is like that? I don't think YouTube would let you get away with it, because there would be similar restrictions, because YouTube has already imposed restrictions on what you can talk about and what you can't talk about, right? So I don't think you can fully do that on YouTube or stream or a podcast. I think Joe Rogan does it, but he's got special, dispensation from Spotify. I think pays him an ungodly amount of money. I would love to do that as a streamer. Goal. Stream goal. Yeah, I'd like to do that. I'd like to talk to people. I'd like to maybe, let's focus it down on the niche. The niche I'd like to talk about is about creativity, about art, about the fact that we are more than what we appear to be. If you want to call it spiritualism, sure, okay. But that is all the impulse of our conscious being, of how we create things, or how do we invent. Is it really invention if it comes from connecting to the collective consciousness? Really? Or is it just insight? I mentioned before, I am a firm believer that we are more than what we appear to be. And then when we go to bed at night, we can direct our dreams, we can direct our thoughts, we can ask questions of the universe. And more likely than not, if you're open to it, you will receive an answer. Meaning seriously, you can have an impact on what you dream about. And that impact is a two-way street. One of the great things about dreaming is that directed dreaming is that you can help solve problems. You can, my wife thinks I'm crazy sometimes because I'll get up and say, I had an epiphany. I think I know what to do. And, I'll do something, and she's getting after me all the time in here in my studio because I'm forever trying new things, and hey, I think I can do that. Hey, I think I can do that. And I'm always thinking about it. Sometimes some people would say overthinking about it, but being creative, or being somebody who has that impulse, the creative impulse, that's part of who you are. To ask the question, to seek an answer. And I'm just going everywhere in this live stream because it's a test stream and I don't really have a format. I don't have an outline. I just figured I'd get on here and I'd try it and see what would happen. Am I breaking up? Is the sound good? Are my camera angles okay? Does this work? Does this camera angle work? Does that camera angle work? What about this? Does that look okay if I put my hand over here? Is it coming out okay? Yeah, the creative impulse, there it is. So And I don't know when I say that I want to talk about these things, I want to talk about art. I want to talk about what it means to create while I create. Maybe I should just shut up and play music while I create and talk have a directed conversation, but talk about things that I think about during the day. And here I am, I'm having a brainstorming session while I'm doing this in a live stream. Okay, that's me. All right. I overthink things sometimes, but what I'm trying to do is to flesh out the idea. And I'd like to do it in a way where it helps you. If it can help you, then it helps me. And that may sound off, but it's the way I want to think about it. I want to help you. And by helping you, you can help me. And let me know. Subscribe to my channel if you're not a subscriber. Let me know what you would want to talk about. I mean, if we were sitting in a room together, would you talk about beer? Is that the depth of our conversation? Is what, hot ones, chicken wings and hot sauce. Really? I'd rather talk about, cadmium paint. Is it toxic? When I'm painting with oils, here's something, should I be using a glove because of the toxicity of the oil paint? It's only linseed oil. It's the solvents that are the toxic things in my mind. Even though Gamsol is odorless, it's still a solvent. And it still can be absorbed through your skin. So, do what you can to protect yourself. Acrylics, that's the value of using acrylics versus oil. Acrylics, or slow dry acrylics, trying to mimic what you get with oil paints is another area. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll paint with oils and paint with acrylics. We call it Acrylotober. Oiltober, Acrylotober, Painttober. I think it's Oiltober because of the O. It's October. It's like Oktoberfest, which is another thing. That's probably already passed. But anyhow, creating art in long form fashion and doing it live, broadcasting and talking about things about the day, and not trying to talk up things. When they say speak life, I think it's Philippians chapter 4 verse 8. Yes, I'm a Christian. Chapter 4 verse 8. When you're directed as a Christian, don't surround yourself with negativity. Talk about virtue. Talk about good things. Noble things that lift you up, things that help. And those are the things that, power of positive thinking, when it all gets back to that, that's biblical. If you really think about it, it's part of who we are. We want to be helpful. I think even the people who need help the most, comedians, okay? Yeah. I'm thinking of Robin Williams, who was probably the funniest person I've ever seen. And he was one of those gifted talents, a rare person who just had the ability to make you laugh and make you think at the same time. And he talked about life and what it means and navigating through life, he told stories, comedy about his kids and about being married and about going through trials and tribulations of relationships, but he always centered his life around that, and he wound up sad and lonely. Very rich, but sad and lonely. Money will not bring you happiness. Find your happiness in the things that matter. And I said that earlier in this broadcast. The things that matter are the people in your life, the memories that you share, the helping other people, being there, standing up for what's right, even when the right thing is hard, because that's the right thing to do. You protect the innocent, you protect the weak. You stand up when something's wrong. You say that's wrong. That's what a good person does. It's not, here's my little virtue signaling sticker on my lapel. That's what it is. That's virtue signaling. That's bullshit. Who you are, that's what's important. What you do is even more important. If you know of a situation where somebody needs help and you walk on by and don't do anything, well, that's not the right thing to do. If somebody is pleading for help. Now, in World War II, on Sundays in World War II, there were German soldiers who were marching Jews to the trains to be taken to Auschwitz. They were dehumanized. They were wearing yellow stars in Juden. The Jews were seen as less than people. They were blamed for everything in society in Germany. And the people in the German churches, the Christians in those German churches, instead of going out and helping those people, instead of preventing the slaughter of over 6 million Europeans, not only Jews, they're homosexuals and deviants and intellectuals, people who the Third Reich thought were mentally handicapped. I'd say, people who were physically challenged. Those people in those churches, instead of helping, they just sang their hymns louder, and in their own minds, they were thinking they were godly people. And at the end of the war, when the Allies made those German citizens march out to those camps and walk through those camps, before this crap was cleaned up, before they hid the destruction and the death, the bodies piled, the bones, the mounds of gold taken from teeth. The German people were marched through those camps, and they had to face what they had allowed to happen. Evil happened, and they didn't do anything to stop it. Do the right thing even when the right thing is hard to do. If you see an injustice, stand up for justice. Don't care if it's the right thing to do. Do the right thing. I don't know how more simple it can be. Just do the right thing. And when you're painting, paint for the right reasons. When you're creating stuff, create. Great, it crashed. Did it catch up? I don't know. That's the first time it did that, and I am now about 45 minutes into this. So, I'm thinking, should I delete this? I don't think anybody's watched this anyhow. Nope. So I can safely delete this because nobody's watching it. This is a test. So maybe I should just, pause it there and think about how I'm going to end this. I don't know. And the connectivity on YouTube. Yeah, it went out. I'm not showing anybody watching. I'm sorry. I just saw your comment. It went out, and what I was talking about probably just went right by. It was one of those train of, random thoughts you're having. Anyhow, I think I'm going to cut this out and review my settings. And I think it was okay, but it only did it once, and I think last week on a Friday night it did it like repeatedly, and it drove me nuts. Anyhow, thank you for watching. This is a test stream where like I said, stream of consciousness, just blah. That's about what it's worth, right? Yeah, I'm gonna paint, and I'm gonna, I guess, Sunday. Let's shoot for Sunday. I'm going to do it live, and I'm going to do 2 hours. I'm going to knock down the bit rate and see if that improves it. Hopefully it won't go out. See you later, and have a good night. Bye.